them to make their own decisions. The last thing is teaching resiliency. And in a world that we're in right now, that's something that's very critical. I guarantee you things are going to change. Things are going to be different. There may be challenges throughout the semester, right? And so having those conversations with your student that, it's okay if things don't go the way you planned at the beginning, but here's other ways that we can go about the situation, right? Not everything is going to be perfect in college, right? And if any of you went to college and you remember your transition and your experience, you remember that there were some really great days, and then there were days that maybe were a little bit more challenging. And that doesn't mean that the experience as a whole was challenging. It just means that at the time something happened that kind of had an impact. So helping us teach your students resiliency is really important. Now, again, things may be going really well, and then there will be times when things go wrong, right? And so if your student does come to you and says, I have this issue, I have this challenge, I need some help. What can you do, right? What can you do when things don't go the way that you plan them or the way that they plan them? Well, the first thing, and it's not here, but is always important, is really listen to your student. Again, some of them may just need to process it out loud, and they already kind of have fixed the issue, and they just need you to like listen to what's going on. Some others may need a little bit more help, and that's when you know your students best. You know what works for them. You know how you can approach the situation. I think providing examples is really important, and if you need help with examples or kind of language of what to use when you experience a situation, your student experience a situation, feel free to reach out to us because we can help you with that. Again, utilize resources on our campus and understand that there is many offices that can provide guidance and support. With that, though, we do need you to understand FERPA, and I have a little bit more about FERPA in a few slides, but FERPA is something that all families should know and consider because there are certain limitations on what we can share as an institution to you, the parent, because your students' educational rights are protected. And so I'll share a little bit more about FERPA, but it's important that you understand that so that you can help your student. And then, of course, setting boundaries and expectations is the most critical thing. Don't do that when things go wrong. Try to set boundaries and expectations prior to your students arriving on campus. If you haven't had critical conversations, I encourage you to do that over the course of the next week, and really being transparent and ensuring that your students know how you feel so that when they get here, they have a clear understanding of your expectations. And then remember, most things are recoverable. Most things have a solution. It is about how do you go about the situation or how you empower your student to go about the situation, and then letting us know how we can support you. The other thing is think about what has worked in the past, and then when are you having these conversations, right? Is it best to have a conversation when your student's about to leave and hang out with their friends? Probably not, right? But is it that maybe you guys can have dinner together and really talk a little bit about what the experience looks like or what it's going to look like, and share meal time together or taking them out to eat or something. Again, every conversation doesn't have to be an argument. And remember, it's really critical to remember that if your student shows um, signs of maybe being angry or standoffish, that most likely is anxiety about their upcoming transition. So really they may not be angry or upset at you. They're just, that's how it's manifesting because of the situation, but they may just have a little bit of anxiety about their transition. Okay. Now, it's important to know that we have a lot of high impact practices for your first year students and for transfer students. So I'll quickly go over those. For our first year students, we have convocation. And this year, due to our current circumstances with the pandemic, that is going to be virtual. So all of you and your students will receive an email invitation to our virtual convocation, which will be next Saturday morning. You'll have an opportunity to view a video from our university leadership, welcoming both you and your student to our academic community, and your students will have an opportunity to pick up their tassel. We give them a tassel with the year 2025 as a reminder of their goal to graduate in 4 years. We also have a whole week of events planned for your students to get involved on campus. So your students will get information about all the events that are happening on campus starting next Friday, the last day of moving, we have something going on that Friday, and we'll have something going on Saturday. And then for the first week, there's always something going on, and they'll have an opportunity to review those events. If you talk to your student the first week or the first couple of weeks and they say, oh, there's nothing to do on board, make sure you remember to tell them, make sure you go and look for the events that are happening on campus. Go to the Compass office, which I'll share a little bit more. There is so much going on. Again, we also have peer coaching. So all of your first year students will be assigned an upperclassman mentor, and they will have an opportunity to connect with that student throughout their entire first year. That upperclassman mentor is someone these are students that have been trained for over a year and are leaders on campus that can help your student navigate their transition. So make sure you remind your student to connect with the peer coaching. And then a few other things that are important is visiting their professors during office hours, whether that's in person or virtual. I know that a lot of professors do offer virtual office hours. Meet with their academic advisor. That's one of the most important resources in their academic journey, ensuring that they're staying on track with their degree program and ensuring that they are taking the right classes. And then also we offer free tutoring for our students in many different subjects. Now for our transfer students, it's pretty similar. We do have transfer peer coaches, and we also encourage students to visit with our professors, but also participate in academic research and attend career internship fairs, since some of our transfer students do have an abbreviated time on campus instead of 4 years, maybe just 2 years. And then we also have a whole week dedicated to transfer students, National Transfer Week, which will happen in October. So there is going to be a lot of programming available for them then. Now, I want to go back to how you can stay involved with your student. And so again, as a reminder, we need you to understand FERPA. And the next slide, I'll share about FERPA. You also can sign up for our parents newsletter. So the Compass office, those sent out a monthly newsletter with important information, critical deadlines, events that are important for you to know. And so make sure you sign up. And I believe these PowerPoint will be shared after orientation. And this is a link that takes you directly to the newsletter. We also encourage you to attend campus events, come back and visit your students, maybe take them out for dinner or come and enjoy what we have to offer here on campus. There's nothing better than having families around. And then follow us on social media, which I'll give you our social media in just a few slides. Now, again, the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act is known as FERPA, and this law protects the privacy of your student educational records and affords the student the right to refuse to permit educational institutions, so as a university, from releasing or disclosing any information about them. So, for example, your student is having a tough time or you need some information and you call us and we check on your student's file and there is not a there's no permission from your student for us to release the information. No matter what, we won't be able to share anything with you. So in order to have your students' records, you must submit the student record access authorization form to the registered office. And that needs to be in person, although I probably can also check based on our current virtual settings what else can be done to submit that record access authorization form. Please understand that this does not include the ability to register for your students for their classes or complete forms on their behalf. So they're still supposed to do all those things themselves. This is if you want to know any educational information. So if you call us and you want to talk to a professor about their grade in the class, which that should be something your student does, but at times we run into those issues, or you want to know more about, something that's happening, unless there's a form on file, we won't be able to share anything with you. All right, so there's a couple of days to remember. I mentioned week of welcome, and again, that's the first week of classes. So during week of welcome, we provide all students with an opportunity to start their semester off right. There is activities designed to connect them with other students, with campus community, and other offices. So we encourage your students to really take advantage of that and participate in everything that we have to offer. And then, as I share, we wanted you to stay involved with us. So here is the Compass website. In there, you can have a lot of information regarding what we have to offer. Our office is sort of a one-stop shop office where if your student is experiencing any challenge, any concerns, they can stop by and connect with us. And in fact, you're going to hear from some of my team members who are specifically dedicated to supporting your students through their academic journey right after my presentation. We also have a Facebook page, and so feel free to join our page, and there is also a family group within our Facebook page, and so you can connect with other family members. We put a lot of updates and information in there, and then our Instagram as well, as you can see what we have going on every single time that we have a program or an event, or we have important reminders. And then the last thing is we do have a guidebook. So you can always download the guide for USF St. Petersburg. It has a lot of resources. And so you can always have it on your phone available if you need information of like a specific campus department. And then also what events we have going on during Week of Welcome, that is available in the guide. The last thing I'll do is I'll share my contact information. This is the direct line to my office, as well as my email address. And so at any point, feel free to either call or email. Again, I can answer any questions. If I can be of any help, if I can direct you to the right location, don't hesitate to call or email. And again, thank you so much for your attention this afternoon. And at this time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And then I believe we have like a minute for questions or so. So if you have questions, feel free either to raise your hand or put them in the chat. It's a great question. So will ID cards be at housing check-in? So when your students check in, we will actually be directing your students to the library where your student will be able to pick up their ID if they've already completed the process of ordering one. I can also put a little bit more information in the chat about that process. And then I will also put the link to the newsletter in the chat if you just give me 1 second. I will do both of those things. Any other questions? You're very welcome. I'm glad that we can be helpful. Let's see. Okay. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, then I'll put that information in the chat and then, oh, wait. Perfect. There's another question. Where do St. Pete residents park at Tampa campus? Do they need 2 parking passes? That's a great question. Actually, they do not need 2 parking passes. If your student will have a vehicle on our campus and they purchase a student pass, that student pass will work in any student lot in Tampa and Sarasota as well. So they just have to make sure they find the right lot in Tampa that's for students, not park in any of the faculty or staff lots because their parking permit will be a student permit. So that's something that's really important to remember, but they don't have to buy 2 parking passes. 1 parking pass will suffice for both campus. And then someone wants the information on the guide. So we will put that as well. Let me put all the stuff on the chat. Sorry, trying to manage the questions and put information in the chat. See if I can do both. All right. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, then though, we will transition. I believe there's a short break before the next presentation. Okay. Thank you all so much. Oh. Okay, another question. Okay, it's a one USF family friends weekend. So it's the same event for all campuses. Families are able to attend. Most of the major events will be in the Tampa campus. And there are some events that will be in each respective campus. So St. Pete will have 1 or 2 smaller events at the St. Pete location and Sarasota as well. But if you're interested in like the football game and all of that, that will be in Tampa. However, it's one registration for all campuses, and registration will go live in September.
Our next session will begin at 4:15 p.m. Living Life as a Bull, Part 3 for St. Pete specific information. But if you have any last minute questions, I'm sure Carolina can answer them in the chat for you. But we'll reconvene at 4:15 officially.
Thank you all so much again.
Antonia, are we ready?
I think we are good to go. It's 4:15. All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Antonia Robinson. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm the third and fourth year student success advocate.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amanda Vasquez. I am the first and second year student success advocate. I use she, her, hers pronouns. And that just means that I work with first and second year students on the campus and any transfers that come in with below 60 credits.
So, a great resource offered through the Compass office are the Student Success Advocates. We're professional staff who help students with any academic concerns, such as navigating policies and procedures on campus, improving study skills, or even learning time management. So, we're going to have a couple of slides to share some more information, and we ask that you hold your questions until we reach the question slide, or just type them in the chat, and then we'll answer them at that time. All right. So, one of the things we like to share about student success advocates is we are not an advisor or a therapist. We're someone in between. Basically, we're the people your student can go to when they don't know where to start, whether that's they need personalized coaching or support, or if they need to know what's the right resource to use whenever they're facing a specific situation. We also help hold students accountable for any goals they set for themselves. It's really easy to say, oh, my goal is to make straight A's in my class, but what are you actually doing to reach those goals? And so we're there to help students and help guide them along the way. We also provide proactive outreach to the students based on data. So on a regular basis, we're looking at grades, and if we see any indicators that a student might need additional support as it relates to their academics, we do reach out to them.
All right, so we are always here to support your students as your student success advocates. But these are some ways that you can partner with us to in your student success here at USFSP. And so some suggestions that we have might just be giving a nice soft ask about how your student's semester is going. We know that they can get super stressed out and might not want to talk about it very much, but just a little ask once in a while never hurts, just to see what they say. And then helping your students establish healthy boundaries is really important and really difficult in their first year, and beyond, actually. But if you have family day every Sunday, keep in mind that your student probably has those Sunday at 11:59 assignment due dates, and that they're probably going to be really stressed out. And give them some grace with hanging out with the family, and making those connections while they're in the adjustment period of coming to college. And so those healthy boundaries, even with family and friends, are really important. And it really helps to connect them to the university when they spend time here, on our campus and with our staff and faculty. So keep that in mind. And then if your student, maybe if you ask that question, that soft nudge, and say, hey, how's your semester going? And they just say, it's not going good at all. Maybe saying, hey, I think I remember some resources from like earlier during this parent session. Maybe you should give Antonia or Amanda, your student success advocate, a call. Within the first 2 to 3 weeks of the semester, your student will have an email in their inbox from Antonia or I, depending on which advocate your student is assigned to. And so we are in their inbox if they need us. There's links in those emails that we send directly to our calendars. And so we are there, and you can make a reference to your students, a referral to your students to us if you need to. And then always give your student a nudge to check their USF email. It's super important that they're checking their email. Any official communication from the university is going to come through their USF Outlook email. And so it's really, really important that they check that. If not daily, at least twice a week. If not twice a week, at least weekly. But they need to check it to get all that good, important info that is in there. And then the last thing we have is to remind your students to register on time. Each semester they need to register for the next semester's classes, and that really saves a lot of headaches if they register on time. And all that information is sent in their student email accounts for when they can register and all that stuff.
All right. So, are there any questions? I see in the chat you want our contact information, so I will drop the link to both the advocacy website and where students can make a link, as well as our email address. But are there any other questions?
All right. If there are no further questions, we'll move to the next section. I cannot see the chat, so if somebody can keep their eye on that, if other questions come in, that would be fantastic.
Absolutely, Heather. Thank you all very much. You've been a great audience.
Hi, everyone. My name is Heather Klishnan, and I oversee student conduct and ethical development on campus. I have a few nuggets of information I want to share with you just so you can be aware of our office, our functions, and what your student, their roommate might experience, because I'm sure you all have students who will not end up in the conduct office, but want you to be aware just in case. So just a quick overview of what we're going to cover today, the purpose of our office, as well as our code of conduct, what the process looks like if a student is asked to meet with us, our amnesty policy, some privacy information, as well as an opportunity that you can ask any questions. So the purpose of our office is really to try to hold students accountable for poor behavior choices. We do have expectations that our students behave a certain way while they're on campus. They don't differ that much from the law and things that we expect when they're just in the general population, but our campus is a special place. And so we want to make sure that we can put the education component first and make sure that there's no disruption to that for other individuals or for your student. So we're just here to make sure that we can have educational opportunities through meaningful interactions and dialogue with students to help them make better choices in the future. We do have a code of conduct as well as an honor code, and these are the expectations that we have for our students that really we monitor within our office. And so we have our code of conduct, which is the same code for all 3 of our campuses, and it affects the behavior of our student regardless of location. And so if you're a student, you're considered part of our community. And so conduct that might be dangerous or provide a threat to the campus, we are going to look at, as well as anything that might jeopardize the reputation of the institution. So if USFSP student ... might end up in the newspaper, then probably we're going to be talking to those students about those choices. And then again, anything that violates state or federal law as well. Our honor code really has to do with integrity and the treatment of people on campus and how they behave in the classroom and not cheating, and being respectful of the things that are asked of their faculty. And so that's also something that we share with our students and have an expectation that they abide by while on campus. Like I said, if you're a student, you are held to the expectation of our code of conduct. So anything that happens on campus as well as off-campus conduct can be reported to our office. And we want to make sure that, again, we're keeping everyone safe to the best of our ability, but providing an educational process also for students so that they can learn through that. Off-campus conduct, which violates state federal law, we will also talk to the students about. We may find out through the police department. We may find out through other venues that something has happened with our student, and we'll reach out and connect with them that way. Our process is separate from the criminal or civil process. So if a student is going through a criminal or civil proceeding, we will not wait for that process in order for our process to move forward. As you know, sometimes those things can take an extremely long time, but they're separate from what happens on campus. And so we'll go ahead and move forward with that. There's no official statute of limitations on conduct referrals or reports, but we do try to do things within 6 months of an incident unless there are special circumstances to why it couldn't have been reported in that time. Some of the violations that we do encounter on campus include the ones that you see here. Oftentimes we have things that are happening within the residence hall that are policy violations. We want to make sure that students are following fire codes and things like that, as well as guest policies, making sure they're not sharing keys with one another, as well as we see drugs, alcohol, some other damage. With weapons, martial arts, and fireworks, those types of things are considered weapons. So we don't want even things that people think aren't necessarily used as a weapon. Those are also not allowed in the residence halls. There is sometimes we have some misuse of computer networks, disorderly conduct, as well as violence and assault at times. So we average around 300 to 350 violations a year. And that's typically the amount of students that we'll see come through the office. Our process, we receive an incident report and we will look at that report and determine if we're going to move forward with the case. If we need to gather more information, reach out to determine what happened, and determine if there is a potential conduct violation. If we do determine there's a potential conduct violation, we will invite a student in to come meet with us. That's called an informational meeting, where we discuss the allegations and the charges with the student and the conduct process. So they're given an opportunity to come in and meet with us. This is considered our informal process, and so we encourage students to go through this process. They have the right to go through a formal process if they want to, but it is typically easier on the student, a quicker process, and a more educational process if they go through the informal meeting with us. And so they would come in, they would meet with myself or another hearing officer. We would explain to them the process, talk to them about what their rights are in the process. Students are able to have an advisor with them if they choose. That's a right that they have. They're also able to share their perspective, share any information that they have in addition to what has been reported to us. We will go over the allegation and charges and talk about the information that we have. We have an opportunity at this point to have a conversation with the student to discuss what was going on, gain their perspective, see if there was underlying issues, and try to get a full picture of what's going on with the student, because the same violation can still have different circumstances for each student. So we want to make sure that we're individualizing the process as best we can. They'll have an opportunity at that point to come to a resolution agreement, which means that the student and the hearing officer agree either that they're responsible or not responsible for something. If they are responsible, we look at the charges and then the appropriate sanctions that would go along with that charge. They would agree. That would be the end of the process for the student. They would complete their sanctions and everything would be great. They can choose to go to a formal hearing process if they do not come to a resolution agreement in that meeting, or if they don't show up for that meeting. Students do not have to participate in the process, but it is definitely in their best interest to do so, so that they're able to provide their perspective. And so I do encourage you that if your student comes to you and says, hey, I got this letter from the Student Conduct Office, go ahead and encourage them to schedule that meeting so that we can have a conversation with them about what happened, because we will move forward with the process even if a student doesn't meet with us. Our approach to sanctions is always educational and not punitive. We want to, like I said, look at if there's any underlying circumstances that a student might have and really determine how they can develop to hopefully not have the same behavior reoccur. And so they may end up meeting with a staff member on campus. They may end up doing some sort of reflective experience, but we are looking at making sure that they're learning from what happened and not just moving on without having any sort of reflection. We want to help students understand the impact of their behavior on the larger community. And when our students make choices, sometimes it impacts more than just themselves. And sometimes when they come to college, they're not quite thinking kind of bigger than themselves yet. And so particularly some of our students who are in the residence hall, and helping them understand how a decision that you make for yourself may actually impact a lot of other people, and how that can kind of trickle down and cause a ripple effect. And then again, just making sure that safety and security of our community is a top priority. A couple additional points, we do have a medical amnesty policy, and we share this with the students as well. Just did some RA training today, and so they'll also hear this at their floor meetings if they're living in the residence halls. It's not a free pass for students to consume alcohol or do drugs, but it is a way that we can encourage our students that if something happens and they need medical assistance, that they don't have to be concerned about, am I going to end up with a conduct record if I call for help? And so we want to make sure that students are aware that we need you to call for help if you or your friend needs assistance. And so if someone has consumed too much alcohol or perhaps taken a drug and they need medical assistance, we don't want you to stay in your room and try to manage it yourself because you're afraid of the consequences. So we still will most likely meet with students and have an educational conversation with them, but they wouldn't necessarily end up with a conduct record because they called and sought assistance. And so we really want to encourage students to do the safe thing, which is reach out and get help. So we do have a medical amnesty policy. When it comes to student privacy and the records within the conduct office, we do fall under FERPA. So for the majority of things that happen within our office, we would have to have a FERPA waiver to be able to speak with a parent about anything, and that would be the student's decision. Based on FAFSA, sometimes with the tax dependency for a first offense drug or alcohol, we may reach out to parents. When possible, we really try to work with the student to have that notification themselves. And so sometimes we know that the parent has already been made aware. Sometimes I will offer the student to make the call while I'm with them in the room. Sometimes parents respond a little bit differently to students if I'm on the phone as well. So sometimes we do that with the parents, but there are times when you can be made aware, but oftentimes things do fall under FERPA, and I'll be able to talk to you about process, but not the details of the case, and you'll be encouraged most of the time to go back to your student to ask those questions. With Title IX cases, which are our sexual assault, sexual misconduct cases, we do things just a little bit differently because there are different parties involved. The complainant and the respondent will receive simultaneous communication, where the reporter of traditional cases doesn't really stay involved once the report is submitted. We do have a centralized Title IX office for all 3 campuses, and our Dean of Students is who is over that process on the St. Pete campus. Here's our contact information. It's myself, and I have a graduate student that works in the office with me as well. Again, I know I shared a bunch of information really quick, and so I just wanted to share that, but that's our contact information there. usfsp-conduct@usf.edu is the email address, and we also have lots of information on our website. So I'm not sure if we've got any questions.
I don't see any so far.
Awesome. That means your students are going to be our best behaved, setting great examples for the others. And is Chief ready to go?
Heather, do you have there you go, perfect.
I'm here for you.
Excellent. All right, welcome everybody. My name's David Hendry. I'm the Chief of Police at the St. Petersburg campus for USF, and I am so glad that you all are here, going to be able to answer any questions that you might have. I just want to go over some basic information. It's the kind of information you could share with your students, and I'll give you some guidance over the years that we've learned as well. So the one thing I wanted you to know is that USF, the St. Pete campus, has an accredited police department. We're here 24/7, and we're not a typical police department, which I'll talk about. We're located on the first level of the parking garage, and it makes it easy to be centrally located on the campus. We do the normal kinds of traditional policing things you would think of. For instance, if there was a car crash, you would call the police, or a car break-in, you would call the police. And we do all those same kinds of things here on our campus. But what our officers do is so much more. It includes education, but it is really focused around providing assistance to our students. We do that in the format of providing escorts, assisting folks through the campus, and then providing a variety of services to them, particularly during after normal hours kinds of things. If somebody needed assistance, they would call UPD. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the emergency equipment that was available so that you had kind of an understanding of what's available to your students. The blue lights you've seen around campus. There are a variety of signs that promote the telephone number for folks. When we talk to students, we tell them to load our University Police telephone number into their contact list. Here you see it in red, that's our telephone number. That way they always know how to call for assistance from UPD. At the bottom you see our website, and that is the link that takes you to the emergency notification system. And that's what the emergency messages look like when they're sent out by text. So you all are probably very familiar with the emergency notification system. When there's an emergency on campus, the university sends a message out by text. This is what it looks like. We send it to cellular, to the web page, throughout a variety of social media means. And we do that for ongoing threats to the campus. So it could be a threat of a tornado. It could be some other kind of emergency that's occurring on campus. The biggest distinguishment is that it is an ongoing threat to the campus. So I always give this example. If we've had a car break-in at night, somebody called the police, the officers got there very quickly, they made the arrest, put the person in the back of the car, it's not an ongoing threat to the campus. So I wouldn't send out an emergency message, late at night to announce that. But I will send it out for any emergency that's happening. We've had natural gas leak in the area maybe, or some other kind of emergency that we were confronted with. But I did want to also share that I think it's very important that we share information with our students when things do happen on campus. So if we had that kind of a car break-in or some other kind of situation, what we do is we send out a crime alert bulletin, and you can find those on our webpage. So your student will receive an email from the University Police Department, and it'll have a PDF document attached, and it'll have a bulletin that might be related to a crime that occurred or some other incident. I tell you, the ones that we see most often now is we're trying to alert students to these phishing scams where people are trying to get them to hit a hyperlink or to sign up for a job opportunity. It just sounds too great for anyone to miss the opportunity. So we try to keep them alert to that. Having said that, one of the other big things that is really important for your students is our safety app, our smart app. And the slide here tells you a little bit about it. What I like about this one is it really has all the public safety featuring in one place, including a mobile blue light feature. So your student at no cost will sign up for the smart app. They'll have access to all of these different functions. And maybe if they're walking across campus and they're just going to feel a little safer if they're able to contact the police quickly. This mobile blue light, you push a button, it calls the police department directly. We're able to immediately interact with what might be going on, but it also will geocode where the student is on campus. And so we also know physically where they're at. It has emergency panic buttons and other kinds of things, such as an ability to report crime tips. We do a lot of education. These are some of the programs that we offer. There's two of them that I always kind of highlight. They're more popular amongst the students. The first one is RAD. That's the Rape Aggression Defense. It's kind of a self-defense program that is available. And the second one is the CRAZE, which is the response to active shooters. And we do about a 2-hour presentation at different times in the fall semester and the spring semester. And it talks about active shooter and how to be suspicious of things and be alert. The other thing I emphasize is all of that information is available on our website. So you can encourage your student to go to our website to look for active shooter information and other educational information as well. Reporting suspicious activities. What I highlight here is this whole see something, say something. And a lot of times I'll be walking across campus and somebody will say, hey, I saw this suspicious person. And sure enough, we had some kind of an incident occur. And I said, did you call me then when it happened? No, I didn't. I didn't want to bother anybody. And what we emphasize to students is you're not bothering the police. Call us right away. Tell us you see a suspicious person, some creepy guy hanging out by the bike rack or something like that. And our officers are programmed to assist in those kinds of matters. So it's not a trouble to us at all. We appreciate getting the call and give us an opportunity to investigate it. But I also tell folks, not only for those incidents that you see in person, like maybe you're walking across campus, but it also can be things that you see online. And so I'm always reminding folks about creepy activities that occur on campus, things that are on social media or texting. And a lot of times when those might happen, a student will come in and they will have taken a screenshot of something and shared it with us. It gives us an opportunity to investigate any kind of suspicious activity that might occur online. The other thing I thought I would mention is down at the bottom, you'll see it says silent witness. A lot of times your students say they may not want to get involved, like I mentioned, and this is an opportunity for them to report crime information or suspicious activities, or maybe something they saw in class, somebody on a website, or maybe somebody they know that might be in trouble. Then they can report that anonymously through silent witness. Next slide. And I also wanted to make a mention about supporting resources. I tell you, the biggest benefit that you have at the university is all of the resources that are available to assist our students. It's our number one goal. And so a lot of that information is available through SOCAT. Some of it is available through the Wellness Center and our campus security authorities. We just have a lot of folks on campus programmed to assist students. And so some of the things down listed at the bottom, from bullying or some mental health issues or domestic troubles, there are lots of resources that are available on campus to help our students. Please let them know that. A lot of times it's late at night and they want to find out some information about somebody that might be a little depressed. Well, the Wellness Center has all that information online, and so it's very helpful to them. Next slide. These are some of the resources you can see on our website. We try to program everything on our website that folks can find 24 hours a day. Next slide. So the last thing I would say is, what can you do? And the biggest recommendation that I give to parents is to check in with their students really at the 1 month point and the 3 month point. And the reason is, they've been away from home for about a month. You want to check in, have a really serious conversation, not one of those where you're headed out the door and you're talking on the cell phone, getting into the car. Set aside some time and just check in with your students. How are they doing? Ask them about their friends, their roommates. How are the classes? Have you joined any clubs? Are you participating in other activities? Is there anything that you need to help you be successful? And so that's the kind of conversation you want to have. Do that again at the 3 month point, and that's just before final exams. The last thing I tell you is to remind your students to subscribe to the emergency notification system. That's the primary method for them to receive messaging from the police department in an emergency, and also to subscribe to that smart app, USF Safe. The last slide here has my contact information. I'll give you my cell phone number as well. You can see our website, our various telephone numbers are there. Feel free to pop a question into the chat if you have it. We'll be glad to answer it. And my cell phone number, if you need to contact me, is 727-409-5823. And you can reach out to me if you just are having trouble getting an answer to a question and you're at that point where you just need an answer. You can always reach out to me. I can be helpful in that regard. Our dispatcher, the 4444 number, they are trained as well. You could call them if you wanted to get general information and some help. And I can connect you with other resources as well. So feel free to know that there's somebody you can call after hours, and I'll be more than happy to assist you with whatever the concern might be. I don't see any questions in the chat. Did anybody have any questions they wanted to ask, either of conduct or university police? I don't see any. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm so glad your students are here. We're looking forward to an exciting year on campus. We're glad they're here. We look forward to seeing you as well. Please stop and say hi. And if you need any assistance of any police officers, please feel free to let us know. We're all available to help out. All right, thank you.
I think we have some orientation folks that are taking over. Maybe?
Yes, you do.
Awesome. Great. Thanks,
Hey,
everyone.
how are you?
Hi.
Okay, we're going to jump out of the way.
Thank you. All right. Hi, everybody. Hope you guys all had a great time. It's now time for your askables. So while you guys think of some questions, we're all going to introduce ourselves. I can go ahead and go first just to get it rolling. I'm Lexi. My pronouns are she, her, hers. My major, I am now actually a double major. I am accounting and finance going into my junior year, and I am from Lakeland, Florida.
Hi, I'm Bridget. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm an environmental science major with a minor in economics and policy. I'm going to be a junior and I graduate in 2023, and I'd say I'm from Tallahassee.
Hello, everyone. My name is Barbara. I am an education major, leadership studies minor. Where I'm from is kind of complicated. I was born in Venezuela, lived there for 2 years. I say I'm from Memphis because I lived there for 11 years, but I also lived in Orlando for high school and moved to
And then, Israel, are you out there to go ahead and introduce yourself? All right, so from here, you guys can go ahead, drop in the chat, raise your hand if you have any questions that you just want to ask us OLs as students here to kind of get more information on campus and what your student can get involved with. You're also welcome to just kind of unmute and ask if you have any questions or want some more information on anything. So Beechers asked, what do you like most about the St. Pete campus?
I like that. I like the size of the campus. It's pretty small. And so you get to meet a lot of students on campus and really create a very close-knit community where a lot of people know each other. And also plus is you don't walk too much to get to classes. Classes pretty easily on here, which I like. So yeah, that's what I like about campus.
I'd say my favorite thing is how close it is to literally everything. It's maybe a 5-minute walk to downtown and then even less of a walk, like 3 minutes to the waterfront. And then there's the free trolley to the beach. So really you can never say that you're bored when you're on campus because there's always something to do. And if there's nothing to do on campus, just like on a rainy day or something, there's always like downtown to explore. And you don't get that at other campuses like at FSU or UF. You're just on campus. That's when you can explore a whole city. So it's a win-win.
Definitely. We have another question coming in. Do you wind up going over to the Tampa campus often?
The only time I've been to the Tampa campus was when I had a class there. Otherwise, you could go there to like use any of their resources, but they're all the same on our campus. So it's just preference.
I think I forgot to mention in my introduction, this is my second year. I have never been to the Tampa campus. I haven't even toured the Tampa campus. So for me, that's a no. But maybe eventually, if I do take a class on the Tampa campus, I will end up going there.
I can say I've only been to the Tampa campus for like clubs, I guess you could say, because I play volleyball, and so sometimes I end up over there if I want to play volleyball. It really just depends on what like your student wants to get involved with. There's always the option to go over there more often than other students. Just depends. Any word on buses for games?
I don't know what they're doing post-COVID or during COVID, but I remember my first year, so like 2 years ago, there would be a Bulls bus that came to the campus and that would pick you up and bring you to Tampa, but I'm not entirely sure if they're doing that anymore.
I don't know that the Student Government Advisory Board has been talking about bus transportation in between campus, even just for classes and stuff now that we're consolidated. So who knows, maybe in the future.
Definitely online is like going to be the best bet of keeping up to date with that information, because I know a lot of things right now are up in the air when it comes to like this upcoming school year, just because the rising COVID cases, like they want to keep us very safe. So it's just always up in the air right now. And then another question, which residence halls do you live in?
My first year I lived in RHO. I currently do not live in a residence hall. I live in an apartment very, very near campus. It's right in front of RHO, so I'm very close by. Basically still live in RHO. But yeah, my first year I lived in RHO.
I lived in the USC, and I think it was really cool because the dorms were like the traditional style, where it was just 3 beds in 1 room and a bathroom. But the fun part was that the cafeteria was right downstairs, so you just go down there any time of the day to get food. And it kind of felt like a sleepaway camp in a way, because just all your friends were on the same floor as you, and it felt like a big hotel, but it's your school, so it's like a weird concept.
All right, and then while you guys think of some more questions, I can pose a question to our lovely panel of OLs. How do you guys balance your academics and your involvements on campus? It's a good question, I know.
For me, I've always found that it's hard for me to focus on multiple things at once. So I found it very helpful to dedicate specific days to specific involvements and responsibilities. So for example, if I have 5 classes, one for each day of the week, depending on the deadline and things like that. And that has really helped me. Always prioritizing classes first is what I do. And kind of biased, but that's why I love on-campus employment, because they let you and they help you prioritize your academics and your classes before your involvement on campus, for sure.
I think mine would just be, I set goals for myself when I sit down and I'm doing my homework. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get back up until I finish at least this assignment or start another assignment. And then I can go and do something like more fun or interesting before getting back to it.
Those are both good answers. Another question in the chat is, do any of you work and attend classes?
I only work on campus while attending classes. So the answer is technically yes, but it's not part-time or full-time.
I work on campus for 2 different organizations, and so it's very flexible when you do that because the teachers are more lenient with you, or your bosses may be like, oh, I understand you have a final this week, so you can like cut back your hours, or we can help you out a little bit.
And I'm a little bit different from them. Personally, I work full-time off campus at a restaurant, and then I also attend my classes. So it definitely is doable. You just have to have good time management, but it is doable for sure. And then another question, what is the most important thing to bring to the dorm?
This came to my mind immediately. One of the things that you plug into the wall sockets that have the different adapters to it. So it's like one wall socket becomes 7 in one. That's like a golden. I still use mine.
That's a good one.
Yes, to add to that, long chargers. I don't know why Apple makes their chargers short because you a outlet to use like right next to your bed where a normal Apple charger. So long chargers, power surge kind of goes together. Just make sure they're power surges and not extension cords. I agree with that.
Yes. Sorry. And then I would also say like a desk lamp. Because like my freshman year, I lived in the USC, and so you have two other roommates, and like I personally had like the earliest classes of everyone, so they would both be asleep, but I would have to get ready. And then in the bathroom, our bathroom door, like closing and opening it, like it's honestly pretty loud. And so having like my desk lamp at my desk, I had my desk like in the corner away from them. I could just get ready there without bothering them and do homework late at night whenever they wanted to sleep. So yeah, a desk lamp. And then another question. Oh, this one's for me. What restaurant? I work, it's called Teak. It's on the St. Pete Pier. Yes, you guys can look us up. I'm not sure if we're still hiring servers, but if we're not, our partner restaurant is Birch and Vine. They might be. But if you look us up online and go to our website, you can find how to apply on there.
There are also like a lot of restaurants in St. Pete, so you're likely to find a server job somewhere.
Yeah, literally everywhere. Like and then like right downtown too. So perfect location for that.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. And if there's no further questions coming in the chat, I'm going to go ahead and pose a final question for everyone. What opportunities should parents, family, and partners take advantage of at our campus at USFSP?
I think definitely going downtown. And I vividly remember during my orientation with this session going on, my dad kept emphasizing how we have free kayaks and he was jealous of that. So definitely utilize the boathouse, canoeing, kayaking, and paddleboarding because he was very jealous of it.
My dad said the same about the kayaks and also the sailboat courses. He was like, if you don't take a sailboat course, I'll take it for you. He was really excited about that. So there you go.
My dad also said the same. It must be a dad thing. All right. So we just want to go ahead. Thank you all for coming. We hope you got a lot of information and you feel a little bit better about your student transitioning. We are going to go ahead and start closing out. So if there's any final questions, comments, concerns, please let us know.